Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, my name is John Evans. I am the mayor of the city of Garden City, and I'm the current president of the Association of Idaho Cities. The Association of Idaho Cities has a very large and active drug task force with membership made up of city officials across the state of Idaho. Our drug task force chair, Mayor Tammy DeVere de Meridian, unfortunately can't be here today, so I'm standing before you on behalf of the association. We have a concern with the negative impacts of substance abuse and its impact on local communities. Legalization of marijuana in any form is a threat to our communities on our roads, in the workplace, and in the classroom. The financial costs are significant, and the cost in human suffering is tragic. In addition to the impact to our communities, it is just as important to discuss what message we are sending to our youth. The young adults in this room need to hear from you that smoking marijuana is not okay. At a recent meeting with about 200 city officials in attendance, a resolution was passed that proposed that the legislature consider the concurrent resolution and the joint memorial that are now before you. I'd like to note that we are compassionate for those in true medical need, and our drug task force wants to work with those who truly have needs. But as you will hear today, those who are in true need of help and choose to use marijuana make up a small fraction of those who receive medical cards in other states. In fact, in Oregon and Arizona, only 4% are cancer patients. We thank you very much for consideration of the issues associated with efforts to legalize marijuana and the need for the federal government to enforce federal laws, as their lack of enforcement is negatively impacting our state. We heard from Mayor Diana Thomas when we considered the resolutions in January about the effect of legalization in Oregon and Washington is having in Weiser. Border towns have seen the impact. We ask that you stand with the cities across Idaho in support of the resolution and the memorial. Now, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I would like to defer to Ms. Alicia Figueroa, Director of the Governor's Office on Drug Task Force Policy, to cover the substantive issues contained in the legislation before you today.
Great. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Again, my name is Alicia Figueroa. I'm the administrator of the Governor's Office of Drug Policy, and I appreciate your time today in being able to talk about this important topic. First, I think it's really important that we establish what these bills will and will not do. The resolution, if passed, will express the opinion of the Idaho legislature that marijuana legalization for recreational or medicinal purposes is not good for Idaho and the vast majority of its residents. It does not enact a law which would ban medical marijuana from the state of Idaho. The joint memorial will urge the federal government to uniformly enforce federal drug law and policies reflective of international treaties which the United States has entered into with virtually every civilized nation in the world, agreeing that marijuana will not be legalized. Idaho and its citizens are being harmed by the laws passed in neighboring states allowing the use of marijuana for medical purposes. More specifically, these laws are hurting our children. With the increase of medical marijuana laws, the perception of harm has decreased and teen use has skyrocketed. Research shows that teenagers who smoke pot at least once a week do worse in school and are more likely to drop out compared to non-users. In fact, no drug is more strongly linked to poor school performance than marijuana. Recent research also shows that regular teen marijuana use interferes with brain development, lowers IQ, and is linked to mental illness. The concurrent resolution and joint memorial are reflective of what Idaho citizens want, as shared through various organizations such as the Association of Idaho Cities, where 86 representatives of Idaho communities signed a letter to President Barack Obama asking for him to enforce the federal law. Other Idaho organizations, such as the Idaho Chiefs of Police Association and the Community Coalitions of Idaho, are requesting the legislature protect us from what they see happening in other states as a result of drug legalization. You may hear that the majority of Idahoans support the legalization of medical marijuana. However, as anyone familiar with research knows, how a question is asked is of extreme importance. Idahoans are by nature compassionate and caring people. When they are asked if they support terminally ill patients being able to use marijuana, being compassionate, many say yes. However, if asked, Would they support having more medical marijuana dispensaries in their community than Starbucks, like has happened in Denver, Colorado? What if they were asked if Trainwreck or Purple Haze sounded like serious, effective, and safe medications? Would they agree? What about if they would be fine with increased drug use among their youth, increased crime in their neighborhoods? What about an increase in the number of people on the streets driving under impairment? Or if they would be fine with the fact that over 90% of patients do not have terminal illnesses, but instead cite pain as the reason they need marijuana. Clearly, they would respond negatively to these questions. And these are not hypothetical questions. These are exactly what we are seeing in medical marijuana states. Voters believe they are helping sick people and surprised by what they really get. Any benefits to the few participants in marijuana programs who are seriously ill are overwhelmingly outweighed by the harms to our kids and communities. Let me be clear. Marijuana, as a crude street drug containing hundreds of chemicals, is classified by the Drug Enforcement Administration as a Schedule I drug under the Controlled Substances Act, meaning it has been found to have no accepted medical use, is addictive, and can't be used safely even under physician's care. These findings recently were confirmed by the DEA in denying a petition to reclassify marijuana into a lower schedule. The DEA's decision was confirmed on January 22nd of this year by the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit.
Ms. Figueroa, could you try to wrap up, please?
Sure. We also know from numerous credible research studies that it's been directly linked to mental illness and serious health effects. The medical associations that advocate for patients do not support medical marijuana as medicine. Despite the best intentions of most of the people in this room, the fact is that outright marijuana legalization is being pushed by national pro-drug organizations, and medical marijuana has simply been a guise to get their foot in the door. We are watching living laboratories in states like Washington, Colorado, California, and Montana, and only need pay attention to see what they are experiencing as a result of these laws. We are morally obligated to protect our citizens from drugs, and there is even greater necessity to protect our children. It is our responsibility. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today, and I will stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And I believe the last one was part of the introduction was Chief Flavie. Senator Winter.
And Mr. Chairman, I'll leave it alone and just leave it there. Just a procedural question.
Go ahead.
Usually when we've been making a presentation of legislation, we haven't limited the presenter's time, and I've yielded time to these individuals to make their presentation. She did make it and did cut her presentation to meet your requirement, but would you clarify that, whether that's a 3-minute requirement for them? So
yeah,
they'll
thank
know
you, Senator.
that
I'm trying to keep everyone to that. I think we've had as many sign up as I've seen on just about any issue that we've had, so I'm as much as possible to try and shorten things up.
Okay, just so they understand that that's what you'd like. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Chief, welcome, and please identify yourself for our record.
Mr. Chairman, my comments should be about 3 minutes, too. Mr. Chairman and members, thank you for allowing me some time to speak today. My name is Jeff Flavie. I am a Chief of Police for the City of Meridian, but I come before you today as the President of the Idaho Chiefs of Police Association. ICOPA members have asked me to forward their support for SCR 112 and SJM 101. Our message today is simple. We oppose all forms of legalization of marijuana in the state of Idaho. Marijuana use consistently predicts a greater likelihood of involvement in crime in the criminal justice system. That's according to Bennett, Holloway, Farrington, 2008, the Statistical Association Between Drug Misuse and Crime. Long-term marijuana use has shown to negatively affect the central nervous system in ways that promote violence. National Research Council, 1993, Understanding and Preventing Violence. Marijuana impairs motor coordination and reaction time and is the second most prevalent drug after alcohol implicated in automobile crashes. That's according to DuPont, Logan, Shea, Talpins, and Vos, 2010, Drug Driving Research, a white paper. After a recent study, nearly 1 in 5, or 19% of our teens, say that they have gotten behind the wheel after smoking marijuana. Studies have shown that states with medical marijuana have drug use rates twice the rate of other states. Johnson, O'Malley,
Backman, and Schellenberg, 2010, Monitoring the Future National Survey of Drug Use. Mr. Chairman, I know that there are many others that wish to speak today, so I'll keep my comments brief. I will give the Secretary a copy of my notes, which include full citations of the reference material. I will conclude my presentation by stating that IACOPA opposes all attempts to legalize marijuana in our state and urge the members to vote to approve SCR 112 and SJM 101. Thanks for your time, and I would stand for any questions.
Great, thank you. We'll have the page, grab those notes, and bring them up. And then are there questions from the committee? Thank you. Great, I don't see any. Thank you. All right, from now, that was the presenters that wanted to present at the beginning. And so what we'll do now is we'll go back and forth between the two lists, and I'll try to tell you who's coming up so you're not surprised when we get to your name. Some names are on both lists, and I'll try to get those as we go, but we'll start with Tammy DeWeird, if she is here. I know she's had a conflict this morning, so she couldn't make it. So then we'll go Katie Snell and then Kevin Hudgens.
Hello, my name is Katie Snell, and I am part of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council and the youth representative for the Mayor's Anti-Drug Coalition. The pages already gave you one of these papers, but it is what we wrote out for our committee. About 40% of high school students will admit to using marijuana at least once in their lifetime, and 20% report regular use. That makes about for 1/3 of Americans that have used marijuana. It can cause many short-term problems, including paranoia, anxiety, impaired memory, difficulty thinking and learning, lack of focus and attention, and poor driving skills, among many others. Some long-term issues caused by marijuana are respiratory problems, heightened risk of infection, especially in the lungs, poor short-term recall, lack of motivation, inability to shift attention normally, inability to understand complex information, increased risk of lung, head, and neck cancers, just to name a few. Marijuana contains over 400 chemicals, giving it a high potential for abuse. Marijuana has 54% more carcinogens than tobacco. In all reality, it only takes 800 marijuana joints to kill you from carbon monoxide poisoning. So tell me again, how is using marijuana good for you? As a high school student, I see drug use across Meridian, and I would like to share my thoughts on the subject in order to ensure that the place I call home stays safe and drug-free. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have Kevin Hutchins and then Dr. David McCluskey.
Chairman McKenzie, committee members, thank you for allowing me to give the Idaho State Police perspective on Senate Joint Memorial 101 and Senate Concurrent Resolution 112. I'm Major Kevin Hudgens, the West Area Operations Commander with the Idaho State Police. I'm a 25-year law enforcement veteran, having worked in both city and state law enforcement. ISP is a member of the Domestic Highway Enforcement Program, which is a nationwide program aimed at targeting the criminal element traveling on our nation's highway. The ISP has and continues to see our seizures of marijuana dramatically increase. To give you a perspective, in August 2011, when ISP officially began participating in the Domestic Highway Enforcement Program, ISP troopers seized just over 32 pounds of marijuana. In calendar year 2012, ISP troopers seized just over 640 pounds. All of these seizures came from lawful traffic stops made by ISP troopers on Idaho's roads. Currently, the biggest source state for marijuana is Oregon, which accounts for approximately 26% of the total amount seized. Next is California at 23%, and then Washington at 21%. Just recently, ISP started tracking the amount of medical marijuana seized, so I don't have those figures with me today. In March 2012, ISP's Fusion Center sent a survey to 120 chiefs and sheriffs in Idaho asking what threats those agencies felt impacted their communities. Number one on that list were illicit drug operations. In November 2012, I attended a regional strategy meeting in Salt Lake City, Utah, which included representatives from 8 Rocky Mountain states to discuss the biggest threats each of our states faced. The number one threat identified was drug trafficking organizations. It is our belief, in speaking with law enforcement counterparts in states where marijuana has been legalized, that it does not eliminate drug trafficking organizations from trafficking in marijuana or other drugs. In fact, from a law enforcement perspective, it has increased the burden on those agencies. Excuse me. From our point of view, money is the fuel behind these organizations, and from the statistical information presented, the 3 biggest contributors of seized marijuana in Idaho are from states that have legalized its use. And I will stand for any questions.
Thank you.